Welcome, Prabhath. Welcome, Viraj.
Thank
So
you.
before we start, maybe let's have like a quick round of introduction from both of you.
Sure, sounds good. I can go first. Hey, folks, this is Prabhath. I go by PK. I lead the security and trust function at Navan, which is an all-in-all travel and expense management SaaS platform. Career security guy. I've been doing this for 17 plus years. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Hey everyone, I'm Viraj Gandhi. I'm Product Security Manager at the SailPoint. I've been part of successful transformation of shift to left at various organizations and have been a software developer for a decade. So I have closely involved with the software development lifecycle and now currently the part of securing that software development lifecycle. Thanks for having me in this panel.
Welcome, both of you. So I know we only have 15 minutes, not even 15, we have like 12 minutes left. So I'll cut through some of the other stuff, but go to some relevant question, right? So same question for both of you. How essential is to have an executive buy-in for the application security program for your respective organization?
Prabhath, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, it's absolutely critical. It's a no-brainer answer. I don't think you can really move the needle unless you have the executive buy-in, because I mean, for any product company, software security and AppSec and product security overall is a very, very critical part of the security program. And then if you have to really move the needle with, say, engineering leaders and actually fix the root of the issue, wherever it could be, like build time, runtime, all of that, you can't really get prioritization unless you have the executive buy-in overall, right? So it's absolutely critical. I think both from a prioritization perspective and the focus and the budgeting perspective, I don't think you can do much without, without the buy-in. Yeah.
Yeah, I second that. It's very essential to have the executive buy-in. Once, as a security practitioner, you build a plan and you try to sell to the C-suite board. Once you onboard them, and it becomes very easy to drive the outcomes at the department level because now they are under the influence of the leadership. AppSec space itself is a very unique where it is not tied or impacting one or two departments of your organization. Many departments across the organization will be impacted. So it's very necessary to have that buy-in from your leadership so that you can drive, establish and mature the AppSec program where you are trying to integrate security activity into the software activity. And if you don't get the support, it would be very difficult to demonstrate and establish the AppSec program. And also in terms of the budgeting perspective, also definitely you need to have the buy-in from the leadership.
Thank you. So maybe Viraj, maybe continuing on this one, maybe the next question for you, like how would the size of an organization or maybe which vertical it serves, would that be a critical element to determine the maturity level that you should be aspiring for?
Well, I would say no model can be a one size fit all. Depends on the size of your industry, depend on the vertical of the industry. You need to follow that particular model. For any startup companies where it is just a 50 developers or just a 50 employees, including the HR, sales, and small amount of the developers. They cannot refer to the 𝗲𝗂 model, which is more descriptive, and they won't be able to mature by following that. They have to go with a SAM model, maybe, which is like an open source, so much affordable, and also like, more operational basis in order to achieve the maturity. So it depends on the size of your industry. That's would be the preference of your model, and model have to be like less complex for the small size industry versus like the big size industry where like they have the budget and already like there is establishment of the AppSec program. Maybe they can target going with the 𝗲𝗂 and other models.
So maybe Prabhath, maybe I'll switch on to a different question for you. Like, do you currently rely on any existing maturity models? And if so, I mean, how do you measure adherence to those models and any challenges that you see that exist?
Yeah. So I kind of have a slightly different opinion and thinking about this, right? So there is maturity model is one aspect, which is good to follow a maturity model so that you can measure yourself. But then there is another aspect around operational focus, right? What I mean by that is actually getting stuff done, moving the needle. Sometimes when you really follow by the book maturity model, it kind of loses the, I don't think focus is the right term, but you cannot align one-to-one with the operational focus that you have, right? So keeping that in mind, yeah, I do follow models. It's a great way to message your security program to the board, the leadership, specifically non-technical executives, to show how you're moving the needle, how you're maturing the program, you're making progress, what you've done. But then there is another element around pure operational focus on actually how you're reducing the risk, right, from a technical perspective. So I combine the two typically in the way I message things and also think about my strategy overall. So that's how I think about this, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, like as a natural extension of that one, maybe Viraj, I'll start with you. How do you leverage metrics in your decision making? And as part of that, what metrics are relevant to you and what are relevant to your management?
Yeah, sure. So metrics does helps in showcasing the improvement of your AppSec program, and the storytelling visualization, what you're trying to showcase to your management. The data varies, like, at the board level, at the CISO level, what data makes more sense for them. The metrics that relevance, especially I incline, are more like, what's the upward downward trend looks like in terms of your vulnerability, what's the security posture looks like at each product level, because for me, I have to deal with the product leaders on day-to-day basis. So I have to make sure that, I provide them the visualization of the trend, what's the maturity of the products looks like. If there is any risk prioritization, they need to focus in fixing or working on those remediation activity. Those are the metrics which I work on day-to-day basis with my product leaders. And sometimes also, like, providing the data points of cost versus the value of, like, are we getting the ROI of all the activities what we are been performing as a part of our AppSec program? Does it make sense? Are we able to justify? Those are the key relevant metrics for the management.
And same question for you, Prabhath, as well.
Yeah. So the way I kind of think about this is I look at it from an investments perspective, right? What I mean by that is, if you look at, of course, shifting left is a very common term. The cost of fixing a vulnerability or a design issue prior to something is shipped to production is, of course, much cheaper than fixing things at runtime, because you'll have to redo a lot of things. So I look at the general health of the application and the pipeline, both from a build time perspective and a runtime perspective, and looking at that trend. I mean, this is a combination of a lot of things. Like on the build time, you look at all of your tooling, your static code analysis, your software composition analysis, and your threat model design review. And on the right of the pipeline, you're looking at your runtime scanning and your bug bounty program, the kind of issues that get reported to this program, your external pen test. But generally, when you do all these activities, you can get a good balance on where things are. And based on that balance, that drives your investments, right? So, and that's how I message metrics typically. I mean, of course, I don't want to repeat all the things that Viraj mentioned. I mean, vulnerability, remediation, fixing, the time to detect, time to respond, all those things are important. But this is the additional thing in addition to what she said, the way I look at things. Yeah.
And we touched upon the size of the organization to dictate. The similar thing, similar question on that one. How does the application security program evolve with industry regulations? For example, if there are companies in the fintech industry, right? How does that dictate the posture that you have to maintain?
Yeah, so I can start there. So, of course, there are like a unique set of risks that come with the industry, right? Like if you're a fintech or healthcare, there are a unique set of risks that come into play, and not just the set of risks. There's also a unique set of regulations that come into play, right? And a lot of these controls that you want to implement are covered by these regulations. You can use that as a, for your control objectives. You can use that as the baseline, and based on that, you can actually figure out pragmatically how do you implement these to things, right? So I would say, yeah, size of the organization does play a role, the developer count and all. And then in addition to that, the revenue also plays a role, because the investments, I mean, end of the day, we are trying to solve business problem. It could be technical, but end of the day, you're trying to solve it for a business, right? So it always should be linked to revenue, and the revenue numbers will dictate on how much risk can you accept. And based on that, that drives investments and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Same question for you, Viraj.
So yeah, I totally agree with what Prabhath has mentioned, and like the size of the industry does matters, and the risk varies based on the various verticals, the type of the organization it is, and yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that. Prabhath has covered most of it.
Okay, maybe one more question. I know there are two more spots that are opening up. So how do you measure where you're in your respective journey? Do you actually go to peer reviews, looking at some industry conferences and stuff, right? So some thoughts on that one.
So like if you're referring to the model like say 𝗲𝗏𝗃, then obviously like it's more data driven, like, it gives you the current maturity stack compared to the other peers, like, about 100 organization, it does the data driven and do the analysis. Obviously, like, indirectly you are getting compared. And as AppSec leader, like when you are changing the organization to organization, there will be the lesson learned, what you'll be incorporating into the next organization, what you are joining, right? That's where indirectly you will be making sure that, whatever the mistake or like, what mistake you saw in the previous organization, you don't want to repeat. You will be like, evolving your AppSec strategy, the program over that. It depends on the types of the organization. And yeah, indirectly, like, definitely you're constantly getting, you will be trying to compare with your peers, like, where your peers are in terms of the AppSec program maturity and all. So
Thank you. I think like we are almost at the time, but let's give 30 seconds each to do like a final words or final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I think all the right questions, and hopefully the audience is really enjoying this. And good to see Cassie. Hey, Cassie. Yeah.
yeah, thanks for having me here. And yeah, it's a very robust community. I'm super excited to like, speak with all those distinguished security leaders in AppSec space. So
Thank you so much, Viraj, and thank you, Prabhath, for your respective times.